Okay, we're officially live now. So I'm just going to...
Excellent. Thank you very much, Becca. Much appreciated.
It's all right.
So, hi, folks.
I'm just going to introduce Tony to you all. A lot of you will already know Tony from FreeAgent. If you've been to Accountex North or, the summits, etc. across the year, or if you've listened to any of the podcasts in MTD, then you'll know Tony. But Tony is from FreeAgent, and what he's going to do today is give us a bit of a backstory about FreeAgent, and then also give us a little bit of a demonstration too. So if you've got questions, pop those in the comment section, and we'll do our best to answer them. But otherwise, this will be live on replay, so you can always ask questions then, and we can get back to you, or I can put you in touch with Tony. And there'll be a link to FreeAgent also in the description section for you. So other than that, I'm going to pass it over to Tony. So, Tony, here's the reins. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Becca. Great intro. Much appreciated. So, hi, folks. As I said, some of you, I'm sure, will have seen my face previously, but for those of you that haven't, I'll introduce myself, and as I said, then we'll introduce FreeAgent, and then we'll take a jump into it. So, from my background and my perspective, so I'm Tony Stevens, and I am the Senior Digital Enablement Manager here at FreeAgent. So my kind of potted history, I spent about 10 years kind of bouncing around practice and industry. I did my training with Deloitte, spent about 4 years there, a couple of years in industry, and then 3 years in a sort of smaller, I guess it was a small, medium-sized practice is probably the fairest pitch, doing sort of corporation tax and sort of various other bits and pieces. I then jumped out of sort of practice day to day. If I'm honest, I was never the best corporation tax advisor, not sure, and ended up kind of in the software world. So I originally joined Xero, worked at Xero for a couple of years in the implementation team, which was great. I really enjoyed it. Went travelling for a year and had a couple of other sort of shorter stints at other software houses, and I've been at FreeAgent now for about 4 years, 4.5 years. I've done 3 different roles at FreeAgent. So I started off in the account management team, in the business development managers team. Then I moved back into implementation, which is kind of much more my wheelhouse, much more what I'm good at. And then I've sort of crafted this role now where I get involved in a bunch of different stuff, predominantly thought leadership, speaking, webinars, putting FreeAgent kind of out there into the marketplace. But I also get involved in integrations, and I also get involved in sort of making sure that our account management team are skilled up and knowledgeable on dealing with partners and accountants and bookkeepers and stuff like that. So a bit of a mixed bag, but all good fun and games. So to give you a little bit of a background, I guess on FreeAgent as a company, so we were founded in 2007, so we've been around for about 15 years. We are a bookkeeping platform. We started life as a bookkeeping platform, very much cloud bookkeeping platform, I should say, very much focused on the kind of contractor market, sort of one-man band space.
Yeah.
That was born out of our 3 founders all being contractors and sort of needing somewhere to do their books and couldn't find anywhere to do them. So they, Ed, our original CEO, he built himself kind of a little sort of tool, and then between him, Rowan and Ollie, they kind of made it into something a bit more robust and took it out to the marketplace. Over the years, FreeAgent has kind of expanded in its functionality to sort of take in what we would now consider sort of the micro business to be really FreeAgent's sweet spot. So sort of probably stretching up to 0 to 10 employees is really where we kind of say that FreeAgent really fits.
Yeah.
Businesses that are more simple than they are complex, which I know is a bit of an ethereal kind of concept, but you'll know them when you see them.
Yeah.
It represents somewhere in the region of 95% of the businesses in the UK we would consider fall right bang into the FreeAgent sweet spot. So we're obviously all very much feet taped to the bike on MTD and providing a great solution for the market there. So it's been an evolution. I think FreeAgent's moved on an awful lot in the time even that I've been here in the last 4 years. And I think probably the most significant event in our recent past was being acquired. So we were acquired by NatWest Bank. So for anyone that has kind of dabbled in FreeAgent before, you may have come across that. What does that mean? So it's sort of helped us to kind of grow up as a business and really kind of take our seat at the big boys table. But what that kind of means for you, I guess, as a practitioner is that if your clients have a NatWest business banking relationship, then they can have FreeAgent for free, which is great. So you'll see, sort of leads me, I guess, into starting to look at the product. But the free NWG license here in the middle is that's that piece. So NWG stands for NatWest Group, and if you've got a business banking relationship there, then you can have FreeAgent for free. It's free forever. It's the full-blown version of FreeAgent as well, so it includes everything. So projects and invoicing, and you can have bank feed. The only difference is it's just got a little kind of purple stripe along the bottom, which is powered by NatWest. So I think what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of run through a demo of FreeAgent to give you a kind of look and feel. We're not going to go too deep into it, but I'm going to pull out some of the key stuff that we have within FreeAgent that might kind of help to shape your decision as to it being something that you wanted to use in the future. So we're on the accountant's dashboard at the moment, as you can see on the screen. So we've got this nice green stripe across the top. So that means that we are in the area where you kind of house your clients, and you're able to kind of see what's going on. So all this is dummy data, so we don't need to worry about that for anyone that's mildly concerned. And you guys can see my email address there. So we'll come back to kind of this a bit later, but this is kind of the accounting dashboard. We'll take a quick tour through here and just have a quick look at some of the bits and pieces that filter into this. So we've got this kind of alerts tab across the top, which gives us these dozen or so sort of preset alerts that we have in FreeAgent. So for example, here you've got a client needs to reconsent their open banking bank feed. So I'm sure that there will be at least one or two people watching this that have had to on various other cloud accounting providers and possibly even FreeAgent in the past had to remind their clients that they need to refresh their bank data in their bank feed.
Yep.
Historically, due to open banking kind of guidance, that took the form of you must go to your banking app and re-enter the details and reconsent with a stream of clicks. That's actually changed in FreeAgent now in the last week or two. As far as we can tell, seems to be a market-leading position in the sense that we've got all the ones that are available now. Instead of you having to re-enter the details, you just have to click yes. So if there are any that you've already got set up in FreeAgent for existing users, you'll have to do the reconsent one more time, and then next it will be yes. But the key bit is that as accountants and bookkeepers, you are able to click yes. You don't have to go to your client and get them to do it, which is a huge time saver because we hear that all the time.
Yeah, and that's honestly one of the most annoying things that you have to do. It really is, especially if your client's gone off somewhere and you've got the work booked in that week and you've just not looked to see if it's been done recently or, it's got to be refreshed, and then you get put behind because of it. It's like, ah!
Yeah, it's been a horrible time drain on the industry because you can't really bill for it and it's just inconvenient, doesn't really benefit anybody. So they've relaxed the rules to allow you to be able to say, it's essentially the difference between saying, please re-enter your details, or are you happy for us to carry on using the ones you've already got?
Yeah.
But because you've got access to the license, you can click yes, and then that will refresh the feed, and you can carry on using it, and it will go back and fill in the gaps as well. So some of our competitors don't have that. It will, like, if it's dropped out for 3 weeks and then you click yes, then you're left with a gap.
Yeah.
Whereas FreeAgent will just pick up from that.
Oh, that's
the last day that it was registered. So if for nothing else, that's a good reason to use FreeAgent, right?
Yeah.
Some of the practices we work with have that problem on thousands of clients as well, and they're having to kind of ring around thousands of clients every month to say, like, you need to reconnect your bank. Oh, I did this, I've done this already. Yes, you have. And the last time we spoke about it, it was 90 days, and that 90 days is now up, like the previous 90 days was, and they seem to be able to get their heads around it. So. We also have this non-VAT registered UK company turnover. So this one seems to be quite popular. Seems to be a bit of a blind spot to be able to actually track turnover as you go. So you can set that up, and then it will breach whatever threshold you set. So I put it 75 because it's a bit earlier, and then you can.
Yeah, then you can do something about it, can't you?
Yeah, exactly right. You either need to calm down a little bit and let a couple of the invoices from last year drop off, or you need to register for that, or whatever it might be. So there's a whole bunch of these. They're preset ones that you can. that you can go and kind of have a look at your leisure, and you can change the filters, but you can't build your own one just yet.
Okay.
Account manager, so this is just essentially the difference between a senior account manager means you can see everything and do everything in FreeAgent, so you can see all clients, and a normal account manager might be, so like say Rebecca, you had a member of staff and you just wanted them to work on sort of like 3, you just give them access to those 3 and then they'd only be able to see those 3, not your books or whatever it might be.
Okay.
Payroll, so I don't think we'll go into too much detail on payroll today. We might be able to do another session on that later if it appeals to the listeners, but the audience. We have a payroll function in FreeAgent. It is really, really good for like those kind of one-man band, contractor, monthly only payroll type businesses. So if you've just got like a salary that goes through every once a month, so it's a monthly only payroll, but it has like a bulk filing function, so you can just kind of get them. For director-only PSC type business, you can just get them set up on there with the same salary and then just hit prepare and file, and it will do it all in one go for all your clients, which is cool.
Okay.
Reports. So we have a report section of green area of FreeAgent. This tends to be more useful for accounting and bookkeeping firms that have very similar or same types of clients. So there are a whole bunch of reports in FreeAgent. We'll take a quick look over those once we get into them. These are cross-client reports that allows you to put all of your turnovers for all of your clients, for example, all across. So like it can be used for kind of cross sell. So maybe you like had an arrangement with an insurance broker and you wanted to kind of see whether your clients had insurance or not. You could pull off all of your clients' insurance codes to be able to see if there are any transactions in there, and then maybe go to them and say, did you know you need employer's liability insurance? You might want to speak to my guy, or whatever it was. If you are in a situation where you go, Joe, actually I've got a bunch of clients I want to load to FreeAgent, I don't want to go through the setup process each time, you can sling them all on there and in one go using the client importer. If you are in that situation and you kind of want to go down that track, give us a shout and we'll be able to help you with it, because it's quite a big spreadsheet that you don't need to complete everything for. Practice portal, so we have a bunch of partner resources. This is actually quite useful. So there's loads of kind of like webinars and blog posts, and so here's one I did recently, the self-assessment webinar, which I did with Steve Cox Morris and Sharon Critchlow from Find Your Balance, and Luke from Crisp Contract, which was really good. It was probably my favourite one I've ever done, actually. It was really good. So we did a media roundtable that we organised, and then there'll be blog posts on new feature releases and landlord masterclasses and PDFs and videos and bits and pieces on there. So if you want to nerd out on cloud accounting stuff like I do, then you're welcome to. And then we have our accreditation module stuff. So we've got loads of kind of full-blown trainings on FreeAgent, and then various other little kind of core bits of FreeAgent, and then one on the mobile app and one on payroll, and one on taxes and all that kind of stuff. We'll have one on MTD and landlords and stuff in the new year as well. We are about to, so by the end of Q1 next year, they'll all be CPD accredited as well. So the main one is just about to get it's already got it. Like we need to process it and get it up and running on the site, CPD accreditation, but the rest of it will be CPD accredited by the end of Q1. It does seem to be. It seems to have kind of timed quite well. It seems to be growing in the market that software providers are able to do that now, which is really good. So all of our webinars are CPD, like our roadshows that we've just done, they were CPD accredited as well. So
yeah, but I've always thought they should be, really, but then as you say, things have changed now, which is in the right direction for it.
Yeah, I think so. I think there seems to have been a wider interpretation of kind of what qualifies as formal CPD. So it's like your certificate, your certified sort of CPD stuff, rather than your unstructured stuff. So we've got the certificates and bits and pieces, and we've worked with a provider to kind of help with getting our stuff accredited. And they've got this. It's quite clever the way they do it. They sort of put this process in place, and they audit what you've done, and they have kind of like an advisory board of like various different sort of like legal minds and other bits and pieces that kind of check their auditing process to make sure that they're kind of doing their bit right, so that when they're checking what we're doing, that it's it's a robust system. So support in FreeAgent. So this is one of our real kind of what's the difference in the market? Our support team. So we have Ruby the Robot, and Ruby the Robot is our kind of helpful bot that if I type in landlord, she'll disappear off and kind of get the top 3 articles that relate to landlords. If after a couple of seconds you've realised that she's panicked and is desperate to know whether or not she's helped you, she'll ask there, as she said, you can get in touch if you want to, hit get in touch, and then it'll allow you to start a live chat with someone in our support team. So our support team's all based in Edinburgh. You have like a practices support team. You can live chat with them, you can email them, or you can call them.
That's really good.
So the phone number is a real point of difference for us.
Yeah.
we still deal with 60% of our tickets through email, but sometimes you just need someone on the phone because you've got a problem and you need it fixed right now or yesterday.
I think that's the issue with some of the others, isn't it? That there just isn't that functionality, and it can be quite difficult to get a resolution to a problem sometimes if you don't have somebody just to ask.
And it's all very well, like if you ping that email across and then they send you back the video of how to do an invoice, but actually what you asked was how do I do this specific thing when I'm creating an invoice, and you just got the general video back. It can be very frustrating, particularly if it took 3 days for that to happen. So I don't want to sling any mud at any of our particular competitors, but not all of them have phone numbers, and that does definitely seem to be something that kind of marks us out as a good face in the market. So I always sort of quite a way to sling it in, and we can do another short video on it later at some point, but we have a mobile app, and our mobile app is great. It's really, really, really good. We're a modest bunch at FreeAgent, but we would quietly consider it to be comfortably the best in class. Does loads of cool stuff. You can reconsent your bank feed on there. You can take pictures and it will drag the data off the receipts, and you can do your bank feed on there, and you can do your bank explanations, all that kind of stuff. So definitely, if you've got clients on FreeAgent, get them on the mobile app. It's like it's the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
I'm not going to rattle through like the setup process, but this is where it looks. The thing I wanted to show you on here was, this is always the first question we get, is how do you get the free license? So when you're setting it up, you hit get a free license, that button there. And then you choose whichever of your bank accounts it is that applies to it, and then you hit account number, and then you hit sort code, and then it will then just register that as free. Provided, of course, it actually is a NatWest account number and sort code. You'd be surprised how many people just put their Santander bank details in there and just hope that we won't notice.
It's not going to work.
They do check. Metal is also worth noting as well. So Metal is the NatWest Group Challenger Bank. So Starling, Monzo, Revolut, Metal. And Metal is completely free, and you can have a free FreeAgent with it as well, so there's no transaction fees. It's an app only. I've actually been through the process to set up a Metal account myself. It took about 15 minutes. Card arrives a couple of days later. They are still operating under the NatWest banking license, but they will be getting their own banking license in the not too distant future. So we got all the usual sort of permissions that you can slide up and down for the various different kind of levels of access that you might want to or might not want to give your client. So all the way from 0 on the naughty step all the way up through to level 8 full access, right? So as I said, I don't think it's hugely beneficial for us at this stage to go through the setup process, but
yeah, it's fairly straightforward anyway. I've seen it, and it's just step by step. As long as you follow the step by step, there's never any issues.
That's it. It's very easy. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into this one because this is relatively new, but it's got something partially on my other account. So if I bumble around a bit, it's because it's a new demo account.
Yeah, don't worry.
We'll work through a few of the key bits and pieces here just to sort of show you how it looks. So now we've got this blue stripe across the top. That means that we are in the kind of area of FreeAgent that we might potentially share with our clients. So this is like the client bookkeeping record area.
Okay.
So the green bit is your accounting or bookkeeping dashboard where you would keep all your clients, and then this is the main kind of bit where we might engage with our clients if we so choose to. So some practices give their clients full access and have their clients doing most of the bookkeeping themselves. Some of them go down, a completely different road and just go, right, they don't even know they're on FreeAgent. We just use it internally as an internal tool. So we have the overview screen, which unsurprisingly is an overview of the business, often called the dashboard. probably because it looks
It
and
is a
feels very much
dashboard.
like a dashboard. Like the dashboard. We called it the overview. So we got the like, little P&L tab that here tells you how you've been going along this year and gives you a corp tax estimate and then gives you a overall figure. So when people say, I want to take some money out of the business to buy a Range Rover, then that's probably the number that you want to look at. That's your carried forward distributable reserves. It might be that there's no Range Rover in there and you're not going to be able to take it out. But you can move these around, which is actually quite neat. So yours will probably look a bit more like this when it arrives. So it's got cash flow at the top. I move the cash flow to the bottom because I just prefer it down there. Don't use it a huge amount. We also have this tax timeline, which I think is another one of the real kind of nice features of FreeAgent, so much so that I've moved it on for its own bit. But it gives you all of, so this is a limited company, it gives you all of the deadlines and all of the company secretarial files, all of the income tax filings, all of that kind of stuff that you're going to need to do over the years. This will change as it comes in, so we're going to be doing something slightly different with this, but that's a bit further down the track. So for now, it just gives you a nice reminder of everything that's going on, and then you've got all your sort of little and estimates and invoices and all that kind of stuff as we...
Can the client see this? So if you had that tax timeline there, they'd be able to see that, so that'd be a bit of a prompt for them just to give them a reminder of when things are due.
Just softens that blow, particularly in the early days of running a business, that you actually have to pay some tax, because I think that's often forgotten about. And comes a bit of a surprise when like you form a company and then 12 months pass and then another 9 months pass and then somebody potentially asks you for some money. Maybe they don't, maybe it's the first year and maybe then it's another 12 months before someone asks you for any money. But essentially it gives you a real kind of to say, right, well, look, it's been there the whole time. You kind of knew you were going to have to pay some tax at some point. It also pulls through onto the mobile app as well. You can actually embed it, I think, into your calendar as well. It will ping as a sort of notification on your phone, which is the final step. But it's really useful, that is, and a lot of people really, really enjoy that. I kind of hope over the years, so you've got the amounts in there, that they'll make it, you can toggle them on and off the amounts if you want to be able to see the amounts or not, but yes.
That's helpful, that.
Contacts. So contacts is obviously an exciting area for FreeAgent. There's a couple of bits I want to show you in here. So we don't kind of have the concept of a customer and a supplier. We have a contact, and you can buy and sell from the same if you want to. If you want to set up 2 contacts, you are more than welcome to set up 2 contacts. So if we dive into one, there's just a little piece in there I want to show you. So you've got all these tabs across the top in the contact. So if you just wanted to know what your sales were, then you can come into invoicing and it will show you. So instead of you having to have 2, you can just do it by reporting, which is kind of what we wanted. The piece that I want to show you is the statement of account. And the reason I want to show you the statement of account is because quite often when I show these to people, they go, oh, that's brilliant. X other piece of software doesn't do that. So this is all your ins, all your outs, all your receipts, all your credit notes. So essentially it is the answer to, client rings you up and goes, I think I owe you 10 grand, but you seem to think that I owe you 20. Why are those 2 figures different? And you can then just send that statement out by email if you want to, just ping straight out to the client. It's all that sort of stuff.
That's very useful.
Into one place. People like that one. It's a small one, but people like it. So we've got work. So you notice that the first 6-ish tabs of FreeAgent are kind of some stuff's happening in the business and we're doing it, so like bills or invoicing or dividend vouchers or banking or whatever it might be. And then the final 2 are more accountant bookkeeper related, so they're taxes and reporting and accounting and that kind of stuff. So it's sort of divided up into those kind of two sections. So work is obviously a kind of conglomerate of estimates, which are quotes, and then we've got invoices and then recurring invoices and time tracking and then projects in there as well. We'll take a quick look at invoicing. So we've got this kind of like traffic light type system. So we've got grey for draft, and then we've got green for paid, and then orange for open. Anybody that used FreeAgent historically, so probably more than 3 years ago or so, might have been a little frustrated with the way that FreeAgent handled, or rather didn't really handle, credit notes. So we just kind of, originally we didn't have them, then we built them, but the way that you kind of executed them wasn't great, and now we've just finished it all off, so it just works kind of how you'd expect it to work, which is nice. We'll jump into an invoice. So you notice this one's got a nice theme on it, so we've got different kind of invoice themes that you can choose from. I believe, might be throwing them under the bus here, but sorry if I am, boss. I think we are planning to kind of make templates like free-form next year, so you can just kind of create your own one rather than having to kind of use the ones we've got, or you can actually do it now, but you need to be able to kind of code in CSS language. So people out there that will build you a particular one, but yeah, just make it more like a drag and drop. You'll notice we've got 3 different lines on here with different totals on. You can have different VAT rates on there. You go to add the invoice item. If we want to add this to our price list, so if I was to say, right, okay, let's go with consulting or something like that, then next time next time I do this, we'll go there. It'll give me the price list here, so I can just select it again and it'll fill it all out for me, which is nice. When it's draft, then it just sits draft. It's not part of the ledgers, doesn't form part of your P&L or your balance sheet in any way. As soon as I hit mark as sent or send by email, it will form part of the ledgers and become part of your P&L and your balance sheet and your debtors, etc., etc. Then we can create credit notes or add bank transactions to it. Obviously, once we've created it and it hasn't been paid, it just sits there as unpaid, showing as part of your debtors. And then obviously, when it comes to being paid, and we'll take a look at that when we get to the banking section. As I said, we've got recurring invoices. We've also got the ability to be able to chase outstanding invoices. So we've got like a template that will chase every 2 weeks or week or however long it is until that invoice is paid. When you have overdue invoices, you'll also be able to click send reminder now, and it will just ping a reminder sort of straight out of FreeAgent to say, look, you need to pay this, so you can use them a bit more tactically rather than just being a sort of standardized what's in the background. It's good. It's a nice little feature. I wasn't overly blown away by it when they brought it in, but actually it actually proved to be really popular. People really liked it. So
yeah,
it's that whole scenario of, I know my reminder's going out on Friday, but I also know that my client's going to Vegas on Wednesday, but they're getting some money in on Monday, so I want to remind them on Monday to pay my bill and not come back from Vegas with debts and regrets. Because if I leave it till Friday, then they'll have probably blown all the money on the roulette table or whatever other fun they might like to have in Vegas, right? So invoicing is sales, bills is the opposite of that. So that's a purchase bill. So that is somebody has done something for you and wants some money from you.
Yeah.
We have updated bills recently. So if you rewound to May, I think they released it. You used to only be able to have one. That's not a very good example. You used to only be able to have one line on a bill in FreeAgent, a bit like we've got there. So just one line and one VAT rate. And then we built a function that we now call multi-category bills. So I'm sure you can imagine what multi-category bills is. It allows you to have multiple categories on one bill. So wages, so labour and materials, different VAT rates on the same bill. It's just, kind of how it should be, really.
Yeah.
We also have an integration with something called Pay It, which allows you to make payments straight out of FreeAgent if you're an NatWest customer. We also built a function earlier, last year? I think last year was auto extract, might have been the year before actually, which is OCR technology in the mobile app, so you can take a photo of a receipt and then it will pull the data off the receipt, and then you can attach that into a transaction, or you can create an expense from it, or it will automatically attach itself to a transaction if it finds a match and if the dates are 2 days either side of the date on the receipt, which is cool.
That's really useful.
We're going to expand that next year, so we won't end up at full-blown Dext, I don't think, but somewhere down that track we're going to, we'll bring bills into it, because we've now built multi-category bills, so we can do that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we're going to hopefully be able to do that, which will really help the micro business to process those transactions. So yeah, there's people, and it kind of, it's not instant, but it's seconds rather than hours or days to read the data off the receipt. So that's pretty cool. Seems to be a fairly powerful course now for keeping tools to have a process of OCR buried within them. So my money, out-of-pocket expenses, not particularly exciting, not really huge amounts in there. Dividends, this is always nice when people kind of go, oh, that's good. So it allows you to essentially, if you've got a dividend that you paid out of the bank, if you book it to dividends, it creates a dividend voucher for you. So
yeah, that's useful.
Some rumblings, I spoke to, I can't remember who it was who spoke about this, about how maybe in the future they're thinking that HMRC might go back to the old system of you having to declare your dividend vouchers and like submit them to the revenue so that they can have that information rather than it just being included on tax return later on.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if that comes in, then we'll be able to not find any. Thought I had one in here. Maybe not. Just take my word for it. As I said, it's a new demo account. So. It never goes quite to plan when you're doing live demos.
No, it's fine.
So banking is a real, it's really the heartbeat of FreeAgent, and I'll take you through some of the stuff and how banking works within FreeAgent because it's a real area of strength for us, and it's really driving a lot of efficiency within the product. So you can see we've got 4 accounts here, and this page has had a little bit of a refresh recently, and you'll notice that we've not got a bank feed set up here, but we've got some transactions for approval, and we've also got some unexplained transactions as well. So what does that mean? So we've got obviously a bunch of different transactions in here. So this is essentially where we're going to explain our transactions to FreeAgent so that FreeAgent can then put together the P&L and the balance sheet and all the other reports and subsequently in the end make our filings. What we would like people to do is to connect up their bank feed up to FreeAgent, so obviously then it pulls the data in straight from the bank rather than us having to do CSV uploads or any other kind of bank file transaction type that you might want to use that that allows you to do that. So we have integrations with these 28 banks. We also have 3 others with Starling, Revolut and Monzo, but they're not under open banking. They're just direct kind of manually built feeds because they don't have a open banking feed that we can connect to. The only major bank on there that's not on there is Metro. We are working with Metro to help them to overcome some issues that they've had with being able to build what they needed to build to provide us with that feed. So fingers crossed that should be along with us, hopefully in the not too distant future. I'm not gonna hazard a guess as to when because it's been an ongoing project that's been going on for a little while. So how does this work? So once you've got that bank feed connected up, then that obviously pulls the transactions in, and we can start to look at doing things for those transactions. So you notice that we've got these green ones. So a green one can mean one of 2 things. It can mean, actually it can mean one of 3 things. It could mean either the client has explained it, it could mean you've explained it, or it could mean that FreeAgent explained it first and then you approved that explanation and said, yeah, you're correct. Okay. So essentially in this instance, so for example, here we've got some money in, you'll notice it's got invoice receipt here. So there's a whole bunch of different, it could have been just a direct sale with no invoice attached to it. So we hadn't gone to work and created an invoice, it'd just been like, car payment or whatever it was. Various other bits and pieces within there, and then obviously once we've said it's an invoice receipt, when it then says, well, okay, well, what invoice was it? So we've then found the Twin Foods invoice there that allows us to, to match those up. So when we do that, well, obviously you had a creditor, you had an invoice, and then an unpaid, an unpaid debtor. So obviously we match those 2 up because the money's arrived, the debtor goes away, the VAT goes where it needs to go, depending on if it was invoice or cash, it'll go when it needed to go, and all the double entry will be done in the background, and obviously that invoice will no longer be showing as owing as it was previously. We can attach files to it if we want to, and various other bits and pieces. So if we go down through here, so you'll notice then we start to get into some of the other, so money outs. So let's click on office stationery, for example. So office stationery there. We might have it might have been a sales refund, it might have been a bill payment, but in this instance it's just a payment, so we coded it for that. Amount 25, 0 exempt, auto or outside of the scope. And then if you choose this to get help with getting a category, and take you to the help centre and tell you, how you should be categorising this if you need to, or how you should be thinking about what category it might be. and then we can save that, and it'll go green. The second type of transaction we have are unexplained transactions, so they are red ones. So that means FreeAgent doesn't know what it is, essentially. So we then need to go through the same process that I've just been through there, just showing you what the green ones were like to explain these. Now, what we also notice as well is after a while that actually there are some opportunities in here to have a look at doing things a bit faster. So you'll notice here we've got LinkedIn Premium, LinkedIn Premium, LinkedIn Premium, LinkedIn Premium, which seems to be going up quite rapidly. So if I hit description, you'll notice that it's now ordered everything alphabetically. So all these LinkedIn ones here are all now alphabetically ordered. Now if I click into the first one, what I could do is go right, click the top one, hold shift, click the bottom one, fills them all in, and then I just come over here and go, right, okay, for some reason these are sales, and then I can go, right, okay, 20% back, and they're just going to go to the sales code because there's only one sales code. It would give me the other ones if there weren't any, if there were different sales codes underneath, and then I can explain all of those transactions all off in one go. Or I can click the select matching transactions button, and then it will just do that for me automatically and just kind of get rid of everything else. Like run the search, and then we can bulk explain it as well.
Which is a big time saver again.
Massive, yeah. Being able to order, so you've only not been able to order them alphabetically for that long in FreeAgent, but that's a huge win to be able to do that because it really helps to do that. In addition to that, we also have an algorithm in FreeAgent called Guess. So you'll notice that we've got these orange transactions that are for approval. So what's happened is FreeAgent has worked out what it thinks these transactions relate to and then has categorized them for you. And it's done that based on, there's a bunch of stuff like it'll automatically match up an invoice and a bill if it sees amounts that match up and that kind of stuff, which is fine. But from a purely transactional point of view, it kind of looks at two things. So the first thing it looks at is, what did Rebecca do with networking meeting fees last time and the time before and the time before? When she's done it 3 or 4 times, it will go up. That's what Rebecca does with that transaction. So I'll put it to advertising and promotion as it's done in this case. And then you can change it. So if like, actually, I should have gone somewhere else, should have gone to marketing, then you can change it and it'll say, do you want to change this once or forever? And then it will allow you to sort of coach the algorithm as you go. And then the second thing that it does is we have this kind of set of transactions that are kind of done by everybody in FreeAgent. So what we did was we took all of the data in FreeAgent, kind of summed it together, and then we kind of looked for where people commonly did things. So, for example, network rail, right? So greater than 95% of the time, which was the bar we were looking for. People put network rail to travel. So we just started putting network rail to travel for you automatically because we think that 19 out of 20 times is enough to not upset people if we did that. We started with like a really narrow set of transactions where we couldn't see any split behaviours, even in that 5% where they didn't do it. It was kind of looked like they were getting it wrong, or they were putting it to one place, like they were the two options. And then what we've gradually done over time is we've gradually lowered the percentage requirement and slightly started to widen the set of transactions that it applies to. And it doesn't seem to have affected the kind of rates of people changing these transactions. So to give you some numbers, about 5.5 million transactions a month go through FreeAgent. 50% of them are explained by the algorithm, and that 50% has a 95% accuracy rate.
That's incredible. Yes,
it is. And from what we can see, we're kind of market leaders in this, but we probably haven't shouted about it quite enough. But it's brilliant. It's really good. And also because we tend to focus on those simpler clients, it's easier to standardise simpler sets of data that are less chaotic, if that makes sense. So we have a fantastic data science and data team within FreeAgent, and they work a lot closely with the banking team who look after all of this stuff, and it's really good. It's really, really good. There is also another tab there when you have some of them that says manual transactions, and they're purple. So when your client goes in and goes, oh, I've paid that bill, and I'll just add a transaction in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That weary face of affliction. Yeah, so it just has a tab there for you, and you can be pretty sure that if you go in there and there's data in there that you didn't put in there, that it's almost certainly wrong and probably causing your bank to be out. So
Yeah.
We also have there within the banking section as well. We also have something called balance of bank. So balance of bank matches up your free agent bank balance versus your actual bank balance in the bank live at that point through the open banking platform, which is great.
That
because
is
it means
great.
that you can see, and then it tells you this is the last date your bank balance balanced on. So you can see as soon as it's gone out, so you don't have to go, oh, well, I've got to go back 2 years now to work out when it last balanced, which is great. We also brought in a bank rate report as well recently, so it helps you to understand if that's missing, then why it's wrong, and that kind of stuff. So I could rattle on for ages about banking, but it's really good in FreeAgent. The algorithm is really, really helpful.
Well, I've heard numerous good things about the banking section in FreeAgent, more even to the point where people have switched from a provider over to FreeAgent because of that. Because some of the, I'm going to speak from experience, some of the other tools that are available on some of these other software apps, they're not that intuitive, and you can't filter on things, and yeah, if you're new to that particular app, it's not very useful for you, and not useful for your client either.
One of the things that we get feedback of quite frequently, especially where somebody's used another cloud accounting tool, is that, and I don't know if this was by design or whether it's just kind of the way we built it, but they like to be able to see a transaction even when it's been processed. So if you click it and it goes, boom, disappears, it really unnerves people, because they're like, it feels like you filed it, and it's like, I don't know if the VAT was right on that, I don't know if anyone's ever going to check it. I was just playing around, I didn't know, I just run out of things to do other than click that button that said yes, and actually now it's disappeared and I don't know where to go to get it. Whereas with FreeAgent, because you've got this kind of like fairly noddy filter that's really easy to use, see all of the transactions, they don't disappear, but you can filter them out if you want to. So just gives people a bit more comfort that I haven't done something with it wrong. It's just there. So, and ultimately it's always, we're trying to improve the quality of data for ultimately the people that need to make sure the data's right, because there's nothing worse than just kind of getting handed junk and then having to go and spend more time fixing than you otherwise would have had to do, and you just process it in the first place, right?
Understanding what's happened, and you think, oh my word, I'm gonna have to wade through all of this.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use the bulk explain function to adjust things as well, which is quite useful.
Yeah, that's useful.
I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to jump forward and just jump around a couple of other bits and pieces that I think are quite useful. So we've got this cash flow tool. So it is a cash flow model, so it allows you to kind of model out your cash flow for the next 3 months. You can add in manual events. So if you've got like a outgoing event on, let's say it was this weekend, frequency does not occur, amount 500,000. So what's happened is Rebecca and I have been given 500 grand to go and spend on the Christmas party.
I'll take it.
Description is required. Office party. I forget the name of the film. Is it called Office Christmas Party? It's got Jennifer Aniston in it.
Oh, I know the one.
I watched a bit of it last night.
Yeah, it's funny
that. Yeah, it's very funny. And then you'll see immediately they regretted their decision because we spent the full 500,000 within hours, and there's now
no money.
There's no money. So it just gives you something to visually depict. You've got this massive tax bill coming, and you've got no money, so you need to go out and hammer your debtors, speak to your creditors, do whatever you need to do to get that fixed. And it's just a nice way of showing that. And you can export it, and it sort of looks at what you've got programmed in for invoices, but it also looks at a certain set of nominals. If you've got like repeated transactions in those nominals, it will kind of add them in as a sort of averaged. It's very clever. It's very clever. Taxes wise, I'm not going to go into in like loads of detail, but we have a self-assessment module. We have built our MTD. It's a module, so we can do another feature on that a bit later if you want to. it's not live in the product yet, but it is built. We are approved. We're on the HMRC website. We've got people on the pilot, so it's there. It's just not switched on yet for the general consumption because obviously we're a way off yet. We also have corporation tax and end of year filing, which we brought in last year, I think it was. So for sort of basic company filing and corporation tax, it's pretty cool. PAYE and NI stuff, so you can file your payroll through there. And then we've also got VAT as well. So the VAT in FreeAgent gets really good kind of feedback again and again and again. So you file your VAT. If you've got a change to make, you just go back into that VAT return, make the change, and then FreeAgent will just kick it into the next open VAT return. So you don't have to kind of go back and unfile everything and then refile it again, which is really helpful. And then you've got kind of like full report bits and pieces there. And then we got the kind of reporting tab as well. So this has fleshed out a little bit since I've been at FreeAgent, certainly. So that wasn't there, that wasn't there, that wasn't there, that wasn't there. And has gradually sort of crept in the right direction. So from like a P&L perspective, you can now set comparatives and different percentage changes, and you can you can set it to custom date range as well. So if you want like kind of full year and then current month or whatever it might be, and you can export. Also comes all the way down, so dividends are already kind of baked into FreeAgent. You have to like go and create your own dividend codes or anything like that, like you might have to do in some of our other competitors. And takes you all the way down to sort of carried forward distributable reserves. And then balance sheet, final accounts. So that's the sort of templated version of our FRS 105 accounts. The breakdown stuff is all pretty straightforward, sort of debtors, creditors, capital assets, that kind of stuff. Allows you to see what you own, see how it all breaks down into different dates, so you can go chasing if you need to. And then we have the detailed ones, which are probably more where you hang out as a sort of accountant or bookkeeper. This allows you to kind of say, I want to see how much is in, see what's been going on in sales, and it will give you the total for that. You might then, so let's go, use the side menu, trial balance, which is pretty standard trial balance, summary trial balance. You can customize the date range, so if you wanted to know how you were doing at any particular given point in time. And then the final two are the audit trail and then the bank rec report. So the bank report is the newest one, I believe. Yeah, it is, yeah. And then we've got the audit trail in here. So this was like hotly requested by our sort of practitioner community.
Yeah.
They wanted to be able to see things that they otherwise couldn't have done. So you can see, like, if you've got a colleague who's been messing around, it will show you where someone's deleted a transaction, which was surprisingly hard to do in FreeAgent prior to the audit trail existing. But now you can just stick deleted in there, filter it by whatever users, and I don't have any in here, unfortunately, because I said it's a new demo account. But yeah, it's it'll bring all that sort of stuff up for you. And then the bank rate report was one we had been requested an awful lot. So this essentially allows you to, whilst you've still got balance at bank, and it will tell you. The balance at bank is absolutely brilliant for like live, kind of while you're going along, and then if something suddenly goes wrong, and then you kind of like, oh, that's not happened because someone's added a manual transaction or deleted something, or maybe the bank fee dropped out or whatever it might be. But the bank rate report, but that's live as at that date. So if you wanted to go back to like the end of the period, because let's face it, no one ever did a set of accounts, or not no one, but it's not very often someone did a set of accounts on the 31st of the month where they closed, right? If you want to go back to there and check that was right as at that date, then you could just say, okay, for that particular date, the balance was, let's say it was 110, and you can enter that manually in there, and then it will compare it against that, and then it will tell you what the difference was, and then it potentially gives you, opportunity to see what the differences were and where they've come from. What were the figures that made up that figure, and then why those two things different. So that was requested a lot, and we've now built that, so that's really cool. Very cool. As I said, we've got end of year. End of year has this really nice. A few errors there. End of year has this really nice approval process in there. So once you've said you're happy with it, you click OK, and then it sends it off to the client to then e-sign and then sends it back again, which is really nice. So
That's
that'll
really
be
good.
something that will, yeah, it's really cool. That'll be something that we will roll out across, hopefully at least across MTD. It's so your quarterlies can be approved by the same system, and then
Yeah.
my hope is that we'll roll it out over VAT as well, because obviously it's just going to kind of all be there in the product. So yeah, it's a nice, really neat little tool. But
I sometimes feel like a dinosaur, because when I first started off in accounts, that you made one change and you had to rerun everything, and it was all printed,
yeah.
and then the printer would not print it double-sided or something. Something would happen, and you'd spend forever and a day just rerunning those set of accounts to get them right.
Yeah.
And now you can just see it on screen, and yeah, I feel old before my time.
And I also imagine, Rebecca, that you were probably quite good at what you did as well. Imagine if you were like me and not very good at what you did, got it wrong almost every single time. Then it was painful. I remember that, like having to go stand by the printer again, like next to the same people that sat like next to the printer, we like reprinting the same court tax comp for the 6th time in 20 minutes. Because and I always used to find as well that you'd make an error, right, and something would go, and it was always kind of when you were up against the deadline and you need to get out the door or whatever, and then you'd change that thing, but you'd forget to change like the other bit of it somewhere else that needed to get changed because it wasn't linked up, and then it'd all spiral out of control, and then you go, the partner would give you that look of like, I'm not happy that you bought me this rubbish that I looked at straight away and saw it was completely wrong, which if half a second of you checking it down would have realised that you'd got it wrong, and then it'd all spiral out of control, and you just find yourself sitting there just like, how can I'm making it wronger. Like, it wasn't right in the first place, and it's now even more wrong than it was when I first started.
It's just,
like
here, you've got the most up-to-date version of something, and I, like you, have in the past given version 2 of something when it should have been version 3, which was the final version. And then known instantly, as soon as I handed it over to the partner, that was the wrong set of cats.
There's the look of like, this is wrong, and then there's the look of, why do we hire her? Why do we employ him? Like,
I know.
I always remember once, this was close to like as exciting as tax got, where we had got, this was when I was in the Big Four, and it was like 5 o'clock, and you used to have to go and manually file the corporation tax returns with HMRC office. And in Reading, where I lived, and it was, I don't know, maybe like half a mile from the office. So you'd walk down there slowly and then kind of hand it in. And we had messed something up, so they'd sent something in to us, and it sat on a desk somewhere. No one had realised it'd been in an in tray. And then suddenly somebody was kind of scratching around. Just so happened, like on the day that, so they were late with their filing anyway, but they were a year late, so they were about to get like the 20%, like the tax geared penalties as it used to be. It was a lot of money, and they were like, right, okay, so how can we fix this? Fortunately, just by dumb luck, they happened to find it on the day of the filing. It could have been on the Monday, and it would have been too late. So they emailed it over. And then the person printed off the return, and then they couriered it back, and then I think it might have been somebody on a moped, or somebody out there found like the fastest person, and they just took hold of the thing that they'd signed, and this person had to run. And I always remember there was like 50 of us standing in the windows. I think it was this guy called Raph, who just like disappeared off, and everybody was like, go on, Raph, like cheering him on. And he got down there, and then the phone rang, and he was like, I've opened it, because no one bothered to open and check. They just got the rest of the pack ready, gave it to him, and then he took hold of it, ran down the thing, and they just sent the back page, and you needed the whole submission because it got all the other numbers. They just sent somebody else down with like the other 7 pages of the CT600 printed, and Raph had to just stand there with all his charm trying to get them to, because it was like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
We thought it was like hundreds of thousands of potential fines that would have been us because it had sat on our desk for ages.
So horror funny. Story.
And he made it. The nice lady was like, yeah, we'll wait 10 minutes, and got it in, and we managed to avoid the fine. But it was that was exciting as tax ever got.
I think that's more exciting than anything that ever happened with me. But that's so funny. But yeah. Oh,
I didn't get
Christ.
selected for the rundown. There was somebody else they picked. So, yeah.
Oh, so okay. Because of the time, we'll have to wrap this up now.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd reached a natural conclusion anyway, so I think we're probably at a good spot.
We could talk all day, really.
Yes.
But what we'll do, I will pop Tony's information into the description and comment section for anyone that wants to get in touch, and a link to where you can find out more about FreeAgent. And yeah, I've been on the website and it's all very intuitive, so you should be able to find your way around. But if you do have questions, then pop those again in the comment section and I can forward them on. If you can't get hold of anyone, which you should be able to do because we've got the live chat, emails and phone numbers. So yeah, do you want to add anything else, Tony?
No, I guess if people want to connect with me on LinkedIn, then go right ahead. I'm quite active on there, and on there it's no good usually. So yeah, reach out.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Tony. And I will end it there, and we'll catch up soon.
Brilliant.
All right, take care. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.